Hey there, hi there, ho there. Good morning. This is Dawn Zoldi. I am your host for the Drones at Dawn podcast for Interdrone. Great to see you all. Remember, this is a live event, so please drop some notes in the chat, positivity, encouragement, questions that you have. We are dedicating this month of March to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so far, we've covered topics like neurodiversity, gender diversity, global diversity. And today we're talking about racial diversity. And frankly, in our country, in the United States, this past year has been a very difficult one, as if the past 100 plus haven't been. But we've seen a lot, and we have this amazing guest here today who started a company that elevates girls of color and helps them become drone pilots. And she has an amazing business, and we want to talk to her. Her name's Ernanda White. And her company is called Black Girls Drone. Welcome to the podcast, Ernanda.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
It's such an honor to have you. You know, I saw you at the Interdrone live event. It was obviously online in December, and you were talking with Megan Salter there, who's from West Virginia, another educator. And I saw you and I was like, she needs to be on this podcast because you're doing amazing things and you've cracked the code on obtaining grants and things like that. And you're helping so many people. So thank you for being here, Ernanda.
Thank you. You're very welcome. I'm so excited, very honored, and it is my pleasure.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I have a real love and passion for aviation first. I've always had that as a little girl. Historically, of course, you know, as a young girl that likes to jump out of trees and be a little tomboyish, you get thrown to the side and say, hey, no, that's not for you. You got to do some girly stuff. So never was a traditional doll player, but I've always loved techie things. I have a tech background, educator background, worked in corporate enterprise technology for many years, and just really have enjoyed being in the social impact and nonprofit space when I got there as well. So all of those experiences combined led me to be an entrepreneur in my own business today.
Well, you mentioned it a little bit, but tell us a little bit more about your own personal journey. I mean, we're talking about racial diversity here today. Tell us about that journey that brought you to where you are today.
Yes, absolutely. So having worked in tech, you know, and being the one of one, there is a big gap there. For African-American women and for African-American men, for many Blacks in technology, there are so many obstacles sometimes that you just, obviously, for so many of those reasons, you don't want to continue to pursue those roles. But it is a very rewarding career. It is one that is opening up to many African-Americans, but for some, it is not. And that is unfortunate because of a skin color, because of race. Many people are being left out of a lot of the tech jobs that need the voices need the diverse voices of everyone. We all use those technologies. We all have our voices to lend to the innovations that are to come, that are here, that are for the future. So it's very important for us to embrace all people to come into the technology space and lend their expertise, lend their experiences, their shared backgrounds, and diverse backgrounds, because that is what technology is all about. It's diverse, it's experiences of many, and it's the voices of many that propel us into the future with innovation.
You know, absolutely agree. I mean, this isn't just opinion, right? There's research that backs this up, that diverse corporations are successful corporations. And you're absolutely right, Ernanda. It's that idea that people coming from different perspectives and different walks of life fuel innovation because they're thinking in different ways. If you have a room of all the same kind of people that all think the same way, you're not going to have that product that's going to break the breakout product, right? That's going to be amazing. And so right. tell us what inspired you to create Black Girls Drone?
Yes, definitely inspired from those experiences that I had in tech, being one of one, feeling that you don't have the visibility. And when you can't see where you need to go, and who you can be, and you don't have that support, it makes it really hard for you. And that's for any young person or any person that is aspiring to be a professional in their career. What happened with me was actually a layoff, and actually got let go during the Christmas holidays of 2019. And for my tech career, where I was the only African American female on the whole team, on the whole side, there was no other. And
there you go. You must have hit a mute there. So you're
there
just
is
saying how, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. There is a part of you that says you want to give up. But after that layoff, I knew, after speaking with my friends and having spoken with others, that there is, that it wasn't just me. Like, there was more that I could do. So I started looking into myself. I started talking with other people. I'd already been in the tech space in my area in different organizations where I served, and also as an advocate to help more young high school and college students enter into the tech field and stick with the computer science roles and finish their STEM degrees and not switch out and not give up. So I always have been an advocate in that space. But for me, that was a turning moment. After speaking with many in my tech space, many groups that had supported me along, I got invited to present at a tech talk and as a masterclass presenter. And I thought that it was just going to be over me talking about just data science or data analytics or the technologies that I had been versed in understanding. And it wasn't. It was actually a little more than that. And this was an invitation to present at the Denton Black Film Festival Interactive Expo as a technology expert. And once she laid out some of the things that they had, some of the technologies, VR, AR, AI, 3D printing, and then drones and robotics. And I was like, oh, I love robotics. I love drones. I love aviation. I could see how this is so innovative in film. And we started talking, and I started doing research. And the more and more research I did, the more abysmal it looked. I was like, there's no Black women in this space. Lack of representation was the first thing I noticed when I started researching. And then when I ran across a few other statistics that backed that up from the Sisters of the Skies, and I went to a Bloomberg report, and I saw the numbers that they had for women in aviation, women in not just aviation and UAS. They not only count aviation, they also count the UAS space as well. And then when I started searching for it, I only ran across one or two African-American women. And when I saw that, I said, the numbers don't lie. I worked in data science, so I believe the data. And I went to work. It propelled me to be even more empowered to offer this to young women who are missing out. That's a wealth gap, that's a gender gap. There's a pay gap. There is a technology gap. There's the experience gaps. And that puts people socioeconomically behind. And if you don't know it, and if you don't see about it, I've spoken with many kids and they don't know because they're too busy with their heads down, so they're not looking up. And so this is a way to empower these girls, to let them know. And now when I talk to young girls, they're like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. This is so cool. And we didn't know about that. I've never heard about that. Well, my friend had a drone, and now they know that this is not just a toy. It is a tech tool for innovation, and it's more than just flying drones.
So, wow. I was just at that Wings Over the Rockies Women in Aerospace event on Saturday. We did a live broadcast from there. And I have to tell you, Ernanda, it was so refreshing to see all the different girls, the sizes, shapes, colors of girls that came to that event in Aurora, Colorado. And, to see them getting inspired by people like Dagmar Kress, who's an aviation, who's an expert aerobatics pilot. And, I was out there repping women in drones, but you're right. The numbers are small. And when you think about, people think women and drones, they think women in general, but, Kim Crenshaw is famous for talking about intersectionality and this idea that all women are not alike. If you're a woman and you're a woman of color, you are an even smaller category and smaller statistic. And, I really do appreciate that. And I love what you're doing. So can you explain to us a little bit about how you are helping these young girls get inspired to continue on in STEM, to want to be drone pilots. What exactly does Black Girls Drone do for them?
Sure, absolutely. So what we do is not only do we empower them to step up and learn the drone technology, but we also want them to understand the aviation and aeronautics that come with that and aspire to be more and start there and getting into the seats and, putting their feet on the ground and their thumbs on the controls to understand how to fly a drone. But it's more that it's the science and it's the technology that will bring the innovation for them. And we want them to understand, we teach them that this is your beginning, because if you start here, we can go there. And then we introduce them to the next things that are also in the ecosystem of the UAS space, because as we know, the UAS space is underneath the umbrella of the aviation. Actually, it shares that space with the aviation. And we want them to think like a pilot. We want them to think like a scientist. We want them to think like a technologist. We want them to think like a strategist. And so we help them plan and develop their career pathways in not only drones, but moving throughout the aviation ecosystem.
Well, tell us about some of your success stories. You've been working with these young women for a little more than a year now in your company. Tell us what you've been able to accomplish.
Absolutely. So our girls are so excited. This summer we'll be jumping off our second summer camp. Hopefully it will be virtual, and it's going to probably be hybrid, but we'll be doing that again. And then we're also going to be working with students to get them prepared to take their Part 107 by the end of the summer. So when they go, the juniors and seniors, when they go into school next year, they'll be Part 107 certified. We're also working with the young ladies to develop their first mission. They're going to do a flight plan. They also have a mission that they're going to carry out. And then they will also be working to prepare themselves to compete in the robotics competition with Bell Flight. That's our biggest thing that we're working on now. We have a group of 25. We'll be the first African-American all-Black female team that will be on Bell Flight in their competition for 2021 in November. And so we're preparing our girls to engineer, build, test, and program. All of our girls code, all of our girls test, all of our girls engineer.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. What I have to tell you, Ernanda, maybe you already know this because I know you follow me on LinkedIn. You really need to nominate your team, that team, for the one of the team awards for the Women to Watch Global Awards program, because that is amazing. And of course, Sharon Rossmark, right, the CEO of Women in Drones, is one of the preeminent women in the drone ecosystem. She is a Black woman. She's done amazing things. I have the greatest amount of respect for Sharon. And if you're not linked up, I'm going to do that after this podcast. But so Absolutely. Tell me, who are your partners for this endeavor?
Oh, yeah. So our partners are Bell Flight right now. And then we partner with a lot of other corporate organizations. We have sponsors that have helped us along the way. And we also team up with our school districts locally. We work with our school hand in hand, being a STEM vendor. I get to work with the students through internships. We have internships coming up this summer in the fall. So we work hand in hand with the schools, because right now our primary focus is getting the districts in line, and then also working with those career and technical and education spaces in the school system for the 16 plus, and then the earlier kids in the earlier grades. We have a small program that we team up with our local partners, Seeds to Sims and the Math Olympics, and all of those people are part of our ecosystem that we work with to bring this to fruition.
And maybe other people know this, but what state are you in, and what school system are we talking about when you say you're partnering?
We're in Texas.
Texas, the great state of Texas. And I'll tell you what, when I look around the drone industry and I think, what are the states that are out there doing amazing things? Texas is one of them, right? Ernest Huffman and Maggie Schuster, and the Council of Governments that focuses on all, Adrian Doko. Those are just a few names that come to mind in Texas. Yep. And of course you've got North Carolina and North Dakota and all these things. But, one thing I'm going to throw out to you to consider also, Ernanda, U.S. drone soccer is literally kicking off this summer. And I would love to see those girls on a U.S. drone soccer team. And so let me link you up with Kyle Sanders as well, because I think what he is doing is amazing. The two of you partnering, literally the sky is the limit there. So I know you have just a couple minutes. You're going to have to punch out early. For those that are still in the, on here with us, if you could stay behind even after Ernanda goes, I want to talk to you about a couple other things. But Ernanda, I think if I recall correctly from your InterDrone talk, you're kind of a mastermind in obtaining grant money for these various projects that you've engaged in. Do you have any tips or tricks you're willing to share with the audience on how they can tap into that funding to bolster programs like yours?
Yes, I would just say to research what areas that you are looking into. If it's a federal grant, if it's a state grant, if it's a local grant in your area, do some research. And then also figure out what types of needs you have, because that's the most important part when you're writing a grant, what your needs are and how you can, how you'll be able to meet those needs. They want to know that. So I would say, look in your state. Make sure that when you're Googling grants, you're looking for those that are applicable to your state, your background, and what your organization provides. And make sure that you're sticking to what they're asking for. If that's what they're asking for you to provide science and technology, you have to build a narrative of how you'll do that and what areas you want to focus on. Lots of grants are just sitting in your state that go unused, untapped. So they're there waiting for you.
Well, speaking of tapping into things, how can people in the audience tap into what you're doing? Can they support you? Can they start a Black Girls Drone chapter in their state or expand to beyond Texas? What's your long-term plans?
Absolutely. Our big vision is definitely to be national. The overarching goal for us is moving into those states that we've already touched upon. We have girls that we've touched in Florida, and Georgia, and Louisiana, and New Jersey, and New York. And we also have young ladies that we've spoken with that are interested, that have worked with us to last summer from Canada, some young girls from Africa, Ireland. We've had two girls from India. So globally, worldwide, national, that's where we're starting. We're starting now with, as I am currently just been appointed as the vice chair for the for the North Texas Council of Governments for the Training UAS Working Group. And so as the vice chair, and I have a colleague that will be joining me, we plan to bring more educational and programming and training and opportunities for organizations that are a part of the COG to join us and accelerate what we're doing in the spaces that need us the most. We're also, as Black Girls Drone Inc., you can always find us at blackgirlsdrone.org. You can also help us start a chapter in your area. If you're in a major city, if you're in a rural area, we definitely want to talk to you and see if that would be something that would be a fit for your girls in your area.
Well, that's great. I know you have to go here probably in a second, but before you do you have any parting thoughts, any words of wisdom you want to leave with the audience, Ernanda?
I would just say when you educate a girl, you empower the world. And the biggest thing that I would like to say to folks is that STEM is for everyone, and this STEAM is for everyone. And we are looking for partners, we're looking for friends, we're looking for supporters, and we're also looking to lend our voice to any platform that you have that will open up these conversations for us to be more diverse, more equitable, and more inclusive.
Well, I want you to stay in touch, Ernanda, because I want to know how that competition goes later in the year. Obviously, I want to know how your girls do getting their pilot's license, and start school next year and things like that. So thanks so much for everything you do. Thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom and your time with us, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
All right, Hernanda's going to dial off. She had to cut out a little bit early. So just take a couple more minutes of your time since I have you. Next week, we're going to talk about corporate diversity. And we have Mira Marquez lined up from Skydio. So that's going to be pretty amazing because Skydio, if you haven't been watching, Skydio is doing pretty great things. They're expanding by leaps and bounds, and there's lots of opportunities there. So make sure you plug in. For those that have been following us, we do a theme a month. And so we'll be closing out diversity, equity, inclusion in March. And as we transition into April, we're going to have a very exciting month talking about security and safety. So we've got counter UAS lined up, detect and avoid. We're even going to be talking about drone swarms. And at the end, a little bit of safety management. May, by the way, is going to be all about global drone regulations. So we've got people from all over the world coming in to educate you on their countries and their particular drone regulations. In June, we're going to focus on urban air mobility, advanced air mobility, and drone delivery. And then beyond that, the list goes on: drone education training, interesting use cases, and then we're up to InterDrone. And that's the last thing I'll say. I don't want to keep you unnecessarily, but if you haven't signed up, when registration opens, sign up for InterDrone. We'd love to see you live. I will be there. A lot of the speakers you've seen on my podcast are speaking on panels. So we'd love to have your support at InterDrone and live in Texas, 10 to 12 August. Ernanda, of course, and some of the people we just talked about from Texas, I guarantee will be there. So anyway, that's all we have for now. Great to see you all, and have a wonderful week out here, and next week with Mira.